what we're likely to see is periods like this. A pandemic will hit with a new virus. Then we will go indoors in a digitally interconnected remote world until we find a way to get a new vaccine, which will usually be 1.5 to 2 years. And then by the time everyone's vaccinated, 2.5 years. Then we'll go outside again. Then a new virus will hit. This is not going to go away. We are no longer in the age of progress. That was a fiction based on using massive amounts of fossil fuel from under the ground in the ocean to create this short-lived, quote, age of progress. We are now entering the age of resilience.
I know that you have predicted the advent of the pandemics, the virus, early in 2014. From then on, you have urged people to think about the climate change.
This was not a surprise. We will have more pandemics. We are moving into a pandemic age. Our animals, all the wild species, they're migrating. They are climate refugees. They're moving closer to civilization. And the viruses are hitching a ride on the animals. The viruses are climate refugees as well. My estimate is that we may lose almost the entire wild on the planet within 20 years. Our scientists tell us, I want everyone in Korea to hear this, including your government, that we are now in the 6th extinction of life on Earth. This is the most important moment in the history of our 200,000 years as a species on this Earth. But we're going to have to completely transform our economy, our infrastructure, our economy, our society, and our business models and governance.
But with COVID-19, people in Korea and also people worldwide take significantly less interest in climate change issue, especially Koreans. Like you said, EU and China, they are moving forward due to your advice, but Korea is not moving fast enough. So how do you assess Korea's Green New Deal?
It's very weak. You are still in the 19th and 20th century on your energy regime. You're facing massive stranded assets. According to Carbon Tracker, you are the highest risk nation in 200 countries of stranded fossil fuel assets. You're number one. So the question then is, where do we go from here? Most of the fossil fuel-based economies, producers, they are all authoritarian regimes, and they are in big trouble. They're dying. Or they're countries like Korea. Korea, if it maintains itself in fossil fuels, I will tell you, you will be a second or third tier nation in 20 years from now. I think you've got to wrest away this compulsion to stay with coal and natural gas. Why would you stay with the fossil fuels that are more expensive now than solar and wind? I'm sorry to say that, but we need to be tough now, because I think your government has good intentions, but you can't just kind of play balance the 20th century with the 21st. You got to move into the 21st.
But when we look at the United States right now, I really don't see that empathic impulse, because I think global economy and also the global culture has shifted from protectionism.
Well, I think, remember, 2/3 of the American public is absolutely ashamed of the White House and the President of the United States. We are 2/3 of Americans maybe really can't stand this, and let's see what happens in this election. This is not who we are. Demographics is on the side of the younger people. We are a multicolored generation now, and this is a good thing. We're people of color. We're Asians. We're brown. We're black. We're white. We're everything now. Younger generations really change.
So will the COVID-19 affect the climate change movement worldwide?
This protest was different from ours. This was the first time in all of history that an entire two generations, Millennial and Gen Zs, came out on the streets and thought of themselves as a species. And they came together as an endangered species in peril. And they began to see their fellow creatures as part of their evolutionary family. This is a consciousness shift. Now, what I would say to young people, don't wait. What you need to do is stay on the streets, keep it nonviolent. You can't wait, because it's not that your parents, the older generation, don't have goodwill. They're not up to this. You are the digital natives, the Gen Zs and Millennials. It's your turn.
How do you predict the future? I mean, how do you foresee what's coming next?
I am only guardedly hopeful. It doesn't do good to be an optimist or a pessimist. I've never, as an activist, that makes no sense to me. An optimist is always waiting around for the good news, and a pessimist is always waiting around for the bad news. So they're not moving. As an activist, I'm hopeful, but not naive. And what I would say to your generation, this is a critical moment. We may make it, we may not make it. We have to believe we can make it. We are the most social creature. We have the biggest neocortex. We know how to be social. So what I would say to the young people in Korea, this can be done, but it would require a sense of collective will on a scale we've never before seen. It's possible. And if South Korea could take a country in shambles after the Korean War and do what you did, and you did it in 25 years, but you're going to have political will. And we can't have just little press releases from the government on things that are too little, too late, and still relying on fossil fuels.